This is a Jmix exclusive.
I gotta ask, how's your health doing?
Wow, you're the first person to ever ask that question. Interesting you should ask. It fluctuates. It's good some days, and other days it's not so great. I've figured out my own little remedies, shall we say, to deal with it when I need to. For instance, when I'm in the studio like now, I deal with it my own. I have my own medications, shall we say? Yeah.
I was reading up on you, and I heard about the congestive heart failure, and it surprised me, and prayers and thoughts are with you on that, because I know that's something that is a pretty serious matter.
It is indeed. It's interesting. I used to work in a hospital. I used to work at Martin Luther King Hospital. I'd be in trauma and ER a lot. And a lot of people would come in with something called CHF, and I didn't know what that was. And it's so interesting that years later I would actually suffer from it. And it wasn't really just CHF. It was that was only one of the things. It was CHF, and it was somehow carbon dioxide that got trapped into my head. They didn't know how that happened. My lungs eventually stopped functioning altogether, so I was on a ventilator. I was in ICU for about 3 weeks. And so, I'd been there so long that I couldn't walk for about a month and a half, couldn't speak for a while. It was really interesting. It's something. I was extremely close to death. So, when no one's ever asked me about that, that's interesting you would ask that. But I'm doing great as a result of that. I mean, I lost a lot of weight, and my voice changed dramatically. And so, I think the hardest thing to do was to try and go back into the studio and do music, because I wasn't used to my voice yet. But other than that, yeah, we're doing pretty good.
That's great to hear, man. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into this. At what age did you realize that you had a musical talent?
Oh, wow. I won't say I realized I had talent. I'll say that I've loved music since forever. My mother would put on like the sidelights and stylistics and, Blue Magic and the Delphonics to put me to sleep. And I grew up listening to that, and part of it Funkadelic and just Algorithm, Marvin Gaye, whatever you want to call it. I've loved music forever. My mother used to work for a company called a record store called Dolphins of Hollywood. They used to be out in L.A. And so I've never not had music in the house. Earth, Wind, and Fire, and anybody you can mention from like, the 70s up to now, man, you know what I mean? So I was in the choir for a while, but that's simply because I loved music. I loved to sing. The rap thing was absolutely an accident.
Speaking of rap, as you were growing up in Compton, I'm correct, around that time you were close friends with MC Ren, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us about your relationship with him and how you transformed into the rapper that we know today?
Okay, yeah. Let's see. Ren, I've been on Ren since forever. So it was me. I'll put it this way. I used to really hang out initially with Ren's brother. And he had this beautiful sister. So I would love to go to his home and just see his sister. And, visit his brother, of course. And Ren was always there. And Ren always hung out with my brother Andre, who everybody knows now as Bokilo. Great producer, great. That is an all-around talent. If you taught me how to rap, if you told Ren that I started rapping. So what happened was, Ren would always be at my house. I'd always be at his house. I used to teach Ren Kung Fu. So, he was never not here. You know what I mean? Growing up the whole time. And at some point, he and my brother and a buddy of mine shipped, when New York started coming out and doing what they were doing. Our DMC, everybody was pretty big at that time. He would always be standing on the corner rapping, almost like clockwork. And I used to take it as a joke. I was like, why don't you get a real job? And I started listening to their stuff, and I was like, that's kind of tight. And over the years, I also grew up around, Dre and Eazy. So Eazy lived like a block or two away, and Dre lived maybe a block or two away from that. And it was interesting in the years later to see Dre go into doing Dr. Dre with surgery and Eazy was doing his thing. I knew Ren was rapping on the corner with my brother and Chip, but next thing I knew, a group got started in the neighborhood. All those guys and a couple of cats from L.A., NWA. So they had gone out on tour. And in this time, I was really starting to get into it. I was really into KRS-One and Chuck D and Chubb Rock and, DOC, everybody. I was really into everybody. And most especially NWA because, that was from my neighborhood. So they came back off tour. My brother saw Ren and told Ren, guess he's rapping now. And he said, who? And he was like, my brother. He was like, you bullshitting. Pardon the expression, that's what he said. So he said, take me around here. Now, I didn't know this was occurring. And Ren came around the corner because I had been doing little demos, not really anything big, just for myself. And nobody would listen. I didn't know homies would listen to my stuff. I was like, man, listen to this. I want you to hear this. Yeah, man, whatever. They would always listen for about 2 minutes just to appease me, going their way. And Ren was the first one to ever actually listen. And he listened for maybe not even 5 minutes. Shipped to the studio. He heard me do a song called Something Like This. So we went to the studio. He changed the track, him and this cat named Young D. And he said, do this song to that track. And when I did it, he was like, listen, I'm going to sign you to a deal. Now I'm sitting there going, what? Because I don't know how to rap. I just wrote this for the fun of it, I don't know about rapping, that kind of thing. And he said, listen, I'm going to sign you to a deal, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what am I supposed to say? No. And that's basically how it started.
This deal that he got you, that was the makings of your album To Hell in Black, correct?
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit what it was like during that time around Ruthless Records artists? Are the stories that we hear true, or was it a more laid-back atmosphere?
It was always laid back. That's interesting because, didn't often cross paths. Most of the artists, and if you had your time in the studio, you were there. If you didn't, you weren't there. So, for me, when I was there, there would be times that I would run into DOC, but I was just meeting him. So for me, it was just cool to meet him and see what was up. But, I was there when Q decided he was leaving and but it was never a thing of animosity or anything like that around. There was never any kind of fights and that kind of thing. It was always a working atmosphere, you'd say. So everything was always in a working atmosphere. There was never any kind of argumentativeness or anything like that going on. It was good.
It's odd that you say I spoke to Cocaine and Jerry Long. He told me the same thing. He said it was one of the most laid-back atmospheres that you could be around. And the first album I ever bought, the first CD that I ever bought was Easy Does It, speaking of Ruthless. And I got in trouble for having that record because it was so explicit. And I think the image of Ruthless Records at the time was a very violent type of situation. And I think that people have a misconception about exactly what was going on. Can you tell us a little bit about Eazy-E, Eric Wright?
One of the coolest people you would ever want to meet. He's okay. And it's really interesting because people always say, well, Eric was the money behind the company. Well, yeah, he was the money behind the company. He was also the very creative business mind behind the company. But as a person was concerned, always had jokes. Always had jokes. It was not beneficial for me to be around Eric too long in the day. I was definitely going to get jokes. So, but he was very cool. He invited me to come with him one night to visit his mom and dad, over in the neighborhood because he would usually go and visit them really, really, really late at night, early in the morning kind of thing, because, you know, that was the way he could get in and out of the neighborhood without being seen by whomever. And he could just spend time with his parents and it'd be cool. And we went over there one night, and we went, first of all, so he could visit them, because that's what he did. Cool people, very cool people. I think his dad worked for the post office at the time or something like that. His mother, I had never met his parents. And they were really cool. I was a little bit disturbed at the fact that I was feeling like I was disturbing them at that time of the night. But it was so cool to see them and Eric in that environment, because it was like, you could tell he really enjoyed spending time with him and vice versa. And this is when they got to start his son. It was so cool. I don't know how to see this son. And he played for them the Appetite for Destruction video. Nobody had seen it yet, including me. So I was feeling extremely privileged. You know, like, wow, I get to beat this out, you know, before anybody. So we're sitting there kicking it. And, you know, it's really interesting because after we did the first album, Eric asked me, well, rather he told me, you should let me and Dre do your next album. And I remember we were standing in the kitchen in a spot in the Flatbush. And I was thinking to myself, hell yeah. But I'm thinking at the same time, I can't do that to my boy Ren. This is who signed me. I have to show loyalty. Somebody recently told me that if you're going to be in this business, that whole loyalty shit, you are in the wrong business. But I mean, integrity is just a thing with me. Loyalty is a thing with me. And I'm not just ready to just, you know, give it away simply because that's the way business is done. And so I didn't do it. You know what I mean? And eventually things occurred where I did do it. But Eric and I were always, you know, there was never a time I could call him up and talk to him about a thing if I needed to. And I never usually needed to. But I could always drop by his spot. And we never get why you here kind of a thing. He just opened the door if he was there. And if he wasn't there, then it was just speed. He would open the door. Life was just good. I mean, but yeah, he was an extremely cool person. Basically, I guess I'll break it down and say that.
Now, he was talking about bringing you on to do the album. You were signed to Capitol Records through Ren's deal, correct?
Right.
And is that the loyalty that you were speaking of?
Well, actually, I was signed to Ren. It's just that Ren had a deal with Capitol. So I guess it was synonymous with that deal.
Were you around Ruthless at the time that Eazy-E got to go to the White House?
Yeah. You know what?
Did you ever get to talk to him about that?
No. But I think all of us was like, you know, we thought we had heard the news wrong. I probably would have really believed that had I not heard it from inside camp. Because when he first said something about it, I really thought he was joking, as usual. But then when it was on the news, I was like, wow, he wasn't kidding. But they didn't know who Eric Wright was. They think Eric Wright is just some Republican who's donating X amount of dollars. Let's invite him. And that there would never in life, ever, be a publicity stunt bigger than that, ever. That was huge. That was huge.
Recently, Jerry Heller came out and said that Eric Wright wanted to kill Suge. Do you know anything about that?
Absolutely not. That sounds like something that's, I don't know, I guess a target piece for him to have a conversation. Who knows? That's deep. I've never heard Eric say anything. I mean, you know, not really around him to the degree he would say that, but I've never heard him say that.
I had to ask. Did you ever have any interactions with then bodyguard Suge Knight?
Did I back in that day?
Yeah, during the period right after Ice Cube was leaving and then Dre went to go start his own label.
One time, we were at my video shoot for This Beat Is Funky. Ren introduced me to Suge. And interestingly enough, he looked pretty much the same. And we met and we talked for a quick minute. And that was actually a very memorable day. For me, it really rings in my memory because Suge did something for me at that time that no one had ever done. She took me to the side and he said, listen to me. And I had just met him. This was the first day I met him. And, you know, some people might say, well, maybe he was just trying to, you know, charm you into coming, you know, to doing what he was, you know, what he was doing. Because Jeff O was getting ready to crack around that time. And I said, well, you know, that could be the case, but no matter what he said to me was actually really significant. And what he said to me was, the reason they have you doing these videos that are so funny rather than doing actual gangster videos is because they're trying to sabotage you. They don't want you to do gangster stuff. They already have a gangster group. They already have Eazy-E. They already have NWA. They got DOC. They don't need another gangster rapper. So you are being sabotaged. And it really made me think. You know what I mean? Because it took my, well, I will say this, whether they meant for it to or not, whether anybody was just this innovative back then or not, it ended up making those videos very popular because of the fact that everybody was trying to do gangster videos, and here comes this video with comedy in it. It hadn't really been done yet, certainly not by a gangster rapper. So it ended up being innovative, and I don't know if that was the case initially or not, but what Suge told me was meaningful. And, you know, from the standpoint that he was looking at it, it could have been true. You know what I mean? Because at that time, I was simply not into wanting to be the comic relief or anything like that. I wanted my videos the way I wanted them, and I had treatments that I had already drawn up. And, of course, Capital wasn't doing anything I wanted to do because I wasn't Ren. You know, well, talk to Ren, tell Ren to tell us. It was that kind of thing, not really having creative control. That was ultimately the reason why I shook. But, you know, I kind of credit Suge for that day because to not know me and to really kind of, you know, whether he was trying to coerce me into doing coming to his company or not is really not the point. The point is that what he said had relevance. You know what I mean? So I've learned a lot of lessons, and Suge taught me a valuable one that day to really pay attention to the things that were going on with my career.
I read an interview that said that you were offered, that they wanted you on Death Row Records before you initially actually went there. Was this around that time?
It wasn't long after that. The Chronic was being done, and Dre had invited me to come to Death Row at the time, and the way he approached me with it was, think of it as, I'll put it this way. The same time that Eazy was talking to me about coming up to Ruthless, Dre was talking about coming with me to Death Row, And, you know, Eazy's pitch to me basically was, you know, Dre is going to do all the tracks. And, of course, that was before, you know, he can get Dre to do the tracks. Okay, cool. And Dre's thing, when he was talking to me was, think of it as changing from one job to another. You're leaving Capital, you're coming here. Okay, cool. Again, it came down to the Ren thing. That's why I didn't leave at that time, because had I left back then, I really think I would have been able to get on. I already knew I would probably be going to Death Row simply because of Dre's tracks. Not to mention I love their lineup. You know, they had Snoop. I'd already heard Snoop. I'd already done a song with Snoop, and I knew how tight Snoop was, and I knew that Snoop's style was getting ready to hit hard. And I was like, you know what? I'm fucking with Dre. And it had nothing to do with liking Dre more than Eazy or anything like that. It had to do with the talent factor that to me was there. It was just more potent. Not that Ruthless didn't have a talent lineup, but they didn't have this newest thing, in my opinion. My opinion at the time was that Snoop was something that people hadn't really heard yet, and obviously that's the case. You can see what happened to him. That's when they first offered me the thing, but again, I didn't go because of Ren. You know, I didn't want to leave Ren just like that, and that was too cool. But after I got to the understanding that Capital wasn't going to do anything I wanted them to do without me, having Jerry Heller or Ren to sway them. It just became a moot point to stay there. So,
Was there really a rift between those two labels at that time? In Europe, in your experience?
the way I see it, in my opinion, the rift was competition. It's like, two teams against each other, basically. And so, you got this new expansion team starting up in L.A., and they got a hell of a lineup. And your best producer is, their new company owner, and that's huge. That was huge. I would never forget the day, me and my sister Michelle, who was at the time my manager at Death Row. Well, she was getting ready to be my manager at Death Row. So one day, we're rolling around, and we decide to go to the studio. Eric has already told us to come to the studio at Audio Achievements. And we want to go to the studio with Dre is, which is this place called the Village Recorder. So we take to the Village Recorder. It's me, her, Dre, we're sitting in the room together. And we're like, oh, yeah, Dre, G-Thing is the shit at the bomb. We know that blah, 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 blah. And Dre, he's laid back in the chair looking at us like, yeah, thanks. And then the room is quiet. And then Dre reaches over and touches the play button on the board. And all you hear is just boom, 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 boom. He put on G-Thing. Gina Juice voice. Nobody had ever heard Gina Juice. Except, people who were in the studio, no doubt. But the public hadn't heard it yet. And we heard that. And then we happened to take the studio and go to Audio Achievements, where Eric was. And it's me, her, and Eric in the studio. And Eric puts on his new song, which is Real Compton City G's. G-Bang versus Real Compton City G's. Love Eric, love him to death. Love Dre, love him to death. But the tracks between the two, Real Compton City G's lost to me. And it was, G-Thing was just too bomb. As big as G-Thing was, when Gin and Juice came along, Gin and Juice was just too bomb. We was like, wow, fuck with Gin and Juice. And, ultimately, I'm like, come on, man, I had to do what I had to do. So between the two, I shoot the death up. They was putting out nothing but platinum material over and over again.
Do you look back with any regrets that you didn't get in on the ground level and maybe even beyond the ground?
Absolutely. Every time I think about the fact that I could have been on the Chronic, it pisses me off. But there's a lot of things I should have done back then that I didn't do. I could have had a TV show by now, but I was so caught up in doing the music, I didn't understand that, you really want to go do the TV thing. My head was in the wrong place. They were trying to do me like a West Coast version of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And they were trying to do a show like that for me because of the comedy we were doing in This Be the Funky video. And they were like, you know what, you could really do a lot of comedy. But I was so into doing gangster rap, I didn't care. So, yeah, there's a lot of little things I look back on and go, shit. So, it's crazy. I'll put it this way. There's, initially when the Hughes brothers did, that is something I don't regret because I didn't really have a problem. It wasn't my fault that this happened. But the Hughes brothers actually called me at home and asked me could they use my song Battle of the Minutes for their theme song for a movie called Menace to Society. And I said, hell yeah. And they were like, well, can you talk to Ren for us too because we want Ren to do a part in the movie, which I came to find out was the part that 8 ended up doing. So, one thing led to another, blah, blah, blah. Next thing I know, and I'm kept out of the loop after Jerry Heller and them get a hold of it, so I don't know what's going on. When I call later to find out what the deal is, because I'm so hyped because these people want me to put my song in the thing with that movie. It was cracking. And in the end, I look up and find out that Ren's not getting the part. Jerry tells me, oh, CPO, you don't want to do that. No, I do. I really do want to do that. But anyway, it doesn't go down, and the rest is history. So it's a trip. It's a lot of little, things I look back on and go, wow, really? So it's crazy.
I really think you should probably write a book about it. 'Cause this is really great. The stuff you're telling me. I mean, it's very human and it's great. I mean, because that's life, and we all get dealt. We all make
It's
our
crazy.
decisions. But yeah, it's very interesting, and I mean that. If you ever think about it, write a book.
You're not the first person to tell me that. I always laugh it off, but people are starting to say that too much. So I might need to think about that.
I'm gonna take off the interviewer hat for just a minute and let you know that I talk to a lot of people, and I have to edit it to make it interesting. And and you got the stories. I mean, you've got better stories than people that you don't have to try too hard because those stories are real, and it's
Right.
genuine, and I think that it would be well accepted. That's just my opinion, though.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that.
I'll stop kissing your ass. I'll move on, but I mean that. All right, man.
Not at all.
I do have to ask you about chocolate.
Oh, absolutely. Why not?
Just about your relationship, and because not a lot of people know about him. We know that he was an artist. I mean, no offense to him, but there's a couple tracks that people have heard mainstream. What is he to you, and how did you work with him?
Chocolate is like my brother, and and how we met. I'll put it this way: I know all of Chocolate's family, his entire family. I know all of his brothers. I know his nephew, Anthony, who everybody else knows as Slim the Mobster. His dad, PJ, who's got a thing called what is it called? Oh my God, Papa's Kitchen, Mom. Big on Facebook. Also, I know his older brothers, Rollin and Donald. I know his mom. I mean, his mom knows me. He knows my mom. And it all started because of Eazy. Because Eazy introduces us one day to this dude named Memoriam. And this is him. And the way Eazy, we're at Audio Achievements. And the way Eazy introduces him to us is he says, this dude wrote Ice Ice Baby for Vanilla Ice. We die laughing. We are on the floor laughing. We can't get enough laughing. And I mean, Mario is not, he's sitting there looking really humble. He's not cheated up and all that kind of thing. He ain't papered up and all that. He's just some guy who wrote Ice Ice Baby, a song that we find an absolute hilarious joke. And let me say this up front, big ups to guys for being successful with that song. But at that particular time, it had not yet blown up. It was just becoming this quick phenomenon. And it was funny. All right, cool. But that particular day, we became really cool. Marlon was a really cool guy. And so...
Not to interrupt, but I was going to ask you about Ice Ice Baby.
Yeah, this is how it happened. So we're sitting here. No, it's cool. So we're sitting here, and I don't know, maybe it was a year, perhaps, something like that. A little more, a little less, something like that, give or take. And so Mario calls me up, and he says, "What's up?" I said, "What's up, Mario?" He's like this. Hey, come on to my house. What house? He ain't got no damn house. I mean, picture a guy who does not have a house. He doesn't have a house. He doesn't have a car. He is not papered up at all, period. He's a regular guy. And I mean, a regular guy wouldn't have a whole lot. So, he's super cool, but he's zero paid. And so he hits us up and he's like, "Come on to my house, blah, 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 your house." "All right, Mario, where's your house?" "Come on, blue, get off Temple, make a left, come up the right, make a right, go up the hill. It's called Phillips Ranch, and blah, 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 blah. And look for my house is on the right-hand side, and in the driveway you'll see my Porsche and both of my Benzes. My Porsche, my white Benz with the blue, what do you call it, convertible top, and my black Benz with the hard top." "Yeah, okay, well, you are killing me with the lies. You are a storyteller." "Okay." He said, man, just come up here. So, me and my boy Chip get in the car, we roll. When I tell you we got off the tempo, hit that left, make that right, went up the hill, and I saw this house on the right-hand side with a white Mercedes, or was that a BMW? Mercedes. White Mercedes and a black Mercedes. Blue Phantom, what do you call it, convertible on a white Mercedes, and a black convertible Porsche Cabriolet. Just, I said, this nigga is killing. Pardon me, you had to stay nigga. But that's what I said. Anyway, I go in the house. He is busting up laughing because he was telling the truth the whole time. I could not believe it. Ice Baby had blown all the way up, super up. He was big. And it was really funny because we could not stop thinking about how much we were laughing at him just, not so long ago. And now look at him, he's up. And he's been up ever since. And, we have spent loads of time together. We had a production company together called Holocaust Destructions. We had a record company together called Ruthless Records. And, we were doing a few things. We redid all the JJ Fast stuff for Ruthless when they were ready to come back out. So Eazy and Jerry wanted us to revamp their stuff. So came out real tight. We were doing a lot of stuff together, and he's got a lot of music on me and him that he remembers, and I cannot remember to save my life. But one of my very coolest friends, and we've known each other a really long time, and he's an incredible guy. He does big business, and since he blew up with the whole Vanilla Ice thing, he's never not handled his business. He's always doing the same. So, yeah. Work with Dr. Dre, all that.
Do you think that possibly Death Row might have felt that they were owed some dues from that song?
Something from what?
Ice Baby.
I don't think Death Row thought they were owed anything. I'm sure Suge probably did. But I do believe Suge was instrumental in helping him get his publishing. So, no, I don't think Death Row would have cared one way or the other. But Suge, I'm fairly certain he got, what he felt was coming to him for that. That's how everything came to be for that.
Read you loud and clear. I do have to ask, because it's Tupac Nation that I'm doing this for, how did you meet Tupac for the first time?
First time, they had just done, what was it, Juice, I think? And something like that. And my first sister, Michelle, and I were in the Stokers Hotel in L.A., right by the L.A. airport. And there was a BRE thing going on, convention, Black Radio Expo. And so she and I are in this ballroom, and the ballroom was a little dim. And when they entered the room, a door opens up, and we can see Tupac walk in. Now, he can't see us because it's a dark room. At least I believe that's the case. And he walks in, and we're like, look, Tupac. And, we're thinking about just having seen him in this movie. So door closes, and he starts walking in our direction. So, I don't want to meet Tupac right now. So we moved to the left, and when we moved to the left, he did. And we looked at each other and said, does it look like you move when we move? And we both said, yeah. And so we said, let's move back over here. So we moved again, and he moved too, and he was still walking toward us. And he walked right up to me. And I was like, kind of freaked out because, who didn't know who Tupac was, and I really didn't think he knew who I was. And he said, what's up, CPO? I said, what's up, Tupac? And he said, congratulations on the flick, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, thank you. And we gave each other a quick dab and, kind of a hug. And he shook. And that was the first time I met him, that quick, that fast. No long conversations or anything like that. It just kind of freaked me out that he knew who I was. And he actually walked up to me to say hello. He did the exact same thing a couple of years later at Can-Am Studio. He was, and they would stoop and Nate, rest in peace, and, Dad's called here all in the studio. And I happened to open the door and said, "What's up?" I didn't know he was there. He saw me, got up on the board, walked over and gave me a hug and said, "How you?" And I said, "Oh, good, man. Just, when it comes to say hey." And I didn't even know he was in the room. I just thought they were snooping. And so that was that day. And then maybe a year or so later, we ended up doing Preaching and Rollin', and I thought it was really cool for us to do that song because we hadn't really known each other in an in-depth fashion prior to that. We just met briefly a couple of times. But I thought it was really cool that he had, the kind of mutual respect that I had for him to actually invite me down to do a song with him. And, I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to go. But fortunately I did, and that's what happened.
You're not the first person to say that he would just show somebody love out of the blue to a lot of artists that he would listen to that a lot of people didn't know. I've been told stories, and you knew the man, I did not, but I've been told stories that he would listen to Top 40 and everything else, and especially Bay Area and California music. He would listen to all the independent artists, and that he approached a lot of people like that. And I just think it's a very common ground between people that knew the man.
Yeah, I sincerely didn't believe he would use the song. I thought he was just being polite, which to me was really what made the day, because it wasn't about him using a song. It wasn't about me doing a song with Tupac. It was about him being in a work session and inviting somebody who's not part of the session to come down and kick it. Let's do a song, blah, blah, blah. And to me, I thought he was just being hospitable and just being cordial and saying, let's do a song together. Because the majority of the songs that get done in the studio, a lot of them get, left on the cutting room floor. And I fully expected that to be the case. But it wasn't. I didn't know he was using every song he was doing. I didn't realize he was doing a double album. And even when I found out, I still didn't think he was going to use that song. I didn't like the song. I didn't like my part. I mean, I liked everybody else's part, but I really liked my parts on songs. I certainly didn't like that one. And he put it out. So I was like, well, I guess he was cool with it. So that's what happened.
Well, I do have to ask, from that time that you met him and that you seen him in the studio, how did you get to do the song with him? How did you even, at that time, did you even know he was out of prison?
No. Let's see. A couple of days before, I got laid off of my job. And I already knew the layoff was coming. So I was just waiting around that Sunday for them to call me in and, literally give me my walking papers. So when they called me over to speak, that's when I was still working at the hospital. And they called me in and said, blah, blah, blah. We just can't, we're laid off certain years and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they laid me off, and I leave the job, and so I'm over at, let's see, I'm on, where the hell was I? Western and Redondo Beach Boulevard, just left Yoshinoya Beach Bowl. And because I'm like, this is bull, we're going to give me something to eat, I'm going to the house. And while I was there, I'm sorry, this is Saturday, when I leave, 2 Tupac songs come on the radio back to back. And I remember that I had met him twice and that he was a cool person. And I'm listening to both songs. One was Keep Your Head Up. But when they came on back to back, I thought to myself, wow, it would be cool if I could do a song with him. And so, the next day goes by, I get laid off, and my boys came through to try and chill with me, like, it's cool, do it on trip, you find another job. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, just got laid off on a really good job. I'm at one of the best record companies in the West, and they're not doing anything with me. And I just kind of felt despondent. So I felt like I would, get on the phone, call the studio and see who was there, just to kind of siphon some energy off of who might be there. I figured maybe it would be corrupt or somebody. And when I called, the guy said that I asked who was in the studio. And he said, Pop. And I said, Pop? Tupac? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that's kind of a coincidence. I said, Pac's in jail. And he said, no, he's not. He's in the studio. He's been here all weekend, but nobody knows. Suge went and got him. And I was like, that's too much of a coincidence. I said, put him on the phone. And he got on the phone. And I said, what's up, Hogg? He said, what's up? I said, he said, who's this? I said, CPO. He said, what's up, CPO? And I said, I had a vision. He said, what was it? I said, do a song with Tupac. He said, I'll do one with you. You do one with me. I said, cool. We have to do that one day. He said, I'm here now. And I said, huh? He said, I'm here now. And I said, okay, cool. He said, you coming? I said, yeah. And he hung the phone. And the homies were like, what you just talking to Tupac? And I said, yeah, get this stuff was shaking. And we took, what we had in front of us, shook the studio. And he asked me what song I wanted to work on. He played a few. And we ended up picking that one, what he did. And we did the song, and that's that.
So you just called him up on the phone one day after listening to some of his tracks and got in the studio with him that day.
A lot of cool little accidents have happened to me over the years, so, I mean, they've all been accidental, but some pretty cool ones.
What was your impression of his work ethic?
His work ethic is fantastic. He's smoking 1,007 cigarettes, back to back, and he is constantly walking the room and very intensely writing and practicing what he's doing. And that's what he was doing, and Psych wasn't doing much less, and they did their parts, and I'm sitting there doing my part, and I was so elevated, shall we say, that I told him, I said, listen, come and check this out. I said, okay, I got this written, and you're going to do your part, Psych's going to do his part. I'm going to come here right here, and when I'm done, you'll come in right here and say something, I don't care what. And after you're done, I'm going to come right behind you. Cool? He said, cool. And that's what happened. But his work ethic is motivating.
And you didn't like the song?
It's not really my vibe. I like gangster stuff, and that's not that that's not gangster, but I like different types of tracks. I like dark, spooky tracks mostly. They tend to fit my voice more, I guess. And so, or just kind of crazy circusy tracks. If that's a word, I'm sure it's not. But yeah, it's not really one of. A lot of people pitch tracks to me that I like the track, but I don't like me on it.
Did you not think it was going to be on the album? Did you hear that on the radio when it came out? How did you find out he actually chose it?
What happened was we leave the studio. I'll never forget my boys looking at me and saying, dude, do you realize you just did a song with Tupac? And I said, listen to him. I said, he's not using that song. And they said, what are you talking about? You guys recorded it. I said, yeah, but see, I said, what happened is you get to want to record maybe 18, 20 songs for an album or more. And they'll listen to the best ones of those and then use those. I said, a lot of stuff gets thrown out. And so that's, of course, when I didn't know he was doing two album sets. So anyway, time goes by. I'm really, literally not thinking about it anymore. I just thought it was a cool day. It made my day better. I had no expectations of using the song. So one day, my play sister, at the time, my manager, Michelle, calls me at home and she says, Vince, that song is on there. And I said, no, it's not. And she said, yes, it is. And I said, no, it's not. She said, I'm looking right at it. She said, I think she said it's the second one on the second CD and the first one on the second cassette tape. And I said, whatever. And so she took the CD out, and she hadn't been at the studio, but she saw my name on it. And she put it in, press play, and she pressed it, and she held the phone. She said, is this it? I said, yeah, that's it. And with this and I went through, and my part came on. And I was like, wow, he used it. And I told her, I said, that was cool of him. I said, but so no one's going to hear that song. I said, man, he's got songs in there with Trey. He's got songs in there with Dad. He's got too many, high-level anthem, and nobody's going to hear that song. I mean, there's 2 CDs and or 2 cassette tapes. That song is not going to stand out. And I literally had no idea that people would even hear it, let alone like it. So that was really weird. I had no expectation of that song doing, what it did. And interestingly enough, I mean, I've done a lot of music, with different folks. I've done stuff with NWA on the Mix for Life album, and, Brother Ram, UG, and all those things, and like Murder Was the Case. No song, in my opinion, has been, I would say, more recognizable than that one. I can almost pick anybody who doesn't know me or anything like that. Every now and then I run across people who are like, who? And they'll say, well, anything I've heard. And I said, I don't know. And out of all the things I could pick, I said, well, do you listen to Tupac? And they said, yeah. I said, have you ever heard a song called Preaching Rollin? And they said, yeah. I said, well, that's all. A lot of times people would say, are you psyched? I'm like, no. But it's so weird because I don't know why people say that, because to me and psych don't sound anything alike. But it's almost as if they think that, Psych's part last is just Tupac and Psych. And only, I guess, CPO fans, shall we say, figure out and you actually hear me saying Boss Hogg and hear him saying CPO. I don't know why people think that I'm Psych, but at any rate, it's the song that I think people probably most know me for.
Does it ever upset you? Because it was such a big hit do you think that overshadows some of the work that you've done that you think is better personally?
No, I think it drew more people to me because Pac had such an enormous amount of fans who may have never heard me, but then again, they may have heard NWA, so and they may be fans of Death Row. So it might make them actually go back and seek me out in certain things, and in doing so, probably end up finding things from way back when I first started with Death Row, with NWA. So, no, I don't think that way about it. One of the things that's happened recently that freaked me out, because I didn't see it coming, was Grand Theft Auto 5 putting Ballad of a Menace on their West Coast Classics radio station. And so that was big. Somebody actually posted that a couple of times on Facebook. I was like, wow, I didn't even know. A fan actually hit me in my inbox and said, congratulations. Being I knew that was going to be on there. And it hit me up, that's a classic. I was like, I never thought it was a classic, but apparently now it is one. So that's cool. Yeah, man, no, I think that it probably drew more people to me, got more people to hear me. I appreciated it.
Just a little FYI, that is the #1 selling media unit of all time.
Is it really?
It is. It is the #1. They don't put it in a record category because it's a game, but it's the #1 disc in a package that sold as quickly and as much in history. The #1 moving unit.
Incredible. That doesn't make me feel bad.
So you're being heard probably more times than you were on Tupac's album, to be honest.
No doubt. And that's really weird to me because, who doesn't want their song? And I thought about that years ago. I was like, man, it'd be cool if I had a song on a, video. And now it's actually on there. And it happened while I was not looking. That's cool. It's been an interesting ride, and now people pulled me back in for this, album when I didn't expect to be doing, but hey, it's cool.
Not to derail, but I have to ask you, was Death Row a violent place to work?
It wasn't for me. I'll put it to you this way. There was never a time that I was at Death Row that I encountered any craziness ever. That could be due to the fact that I go to the studio, do what I'm supposed to do, and when I'm done, I'm sick. I don't hang around, I don't chill, and take it to me, it's all business, Obviously, things were occurring because, I mean, you're reading about them everywhere. But for the most part, I found out about them the same way everybody else did, secondhand. You know, I'd be at home and someone would call me, well, you never guess what happened. What? Are you fucking kidding me? And so, you know, so when I was there, no. I didn't have to deal with that.
Dave Aaron, and I know you're close with Dave. He said the same thing.
Yep.
He said the exact same thing. He's like, yeah, it happened, but not when I was there.
Yeah. And that's funny because Dave Aaron is the engineer who did Picture Rollin. So, I mean, you know, the few times that me and Dave were at the studio together now, you know.
When you were in the studio with Hogg, this is a big debate. Was the East versus West Coast a real thing at Death Row, or is that a media thing?
No, it's not media. It's not. I'll put it this way: the East West thing was happening. It wasn't really. Everybody wants to say that, you know, Death Row is where the East Coast thing and West Coast thing initiated, and that's not true. There was already tension with the East-West thing. You know, that thing started as a Bad Boy versus Death Row thing, which actually became West Coast East Coast thing, but there was already tension out there. I mean, you know, when Common did I Used to Love Her, that was about the West. You know, so it's like that whole tension from East Coast rappers on. Without 1990, this is long before Death Row existed. 1990 is me, my boy Chip, my DJ Train, rest in peace. We're in New York. Matter of fact, Chip wasn't even there. I think it was just me and Train. And, oh, maybe Chip wasn't. I can't remember. Anyway, it was me and Train. We're in a limo with Jazz and Jay-Z. Jay-Z was kind of, you know, doing big things in Hawaiian Sophie. So here we are in New York, rolling around a limo. Jay-Z is super cool. Jazz could not stand people from the West. He was not having West Coast rappers. He was not sociable. He always had this frown on his face like, can't believe they got me riding around limos with these motherfuckers. He did not like us. And as a result, we're like him. I mean, you got to remember, West Coast didn't give a fuck. I mean, that's just who we were. You know what I mean? We ain't doing this, we ain't doing that. We gangsters, period. So it don't really matter. But Jay-Z was very hospitable, very cool, very chill, had a ball with that guy. And as far as Jazz is concerned, who cares? I mean, but that tension was already there. You know what I mean? And he certainly showed animosity toward us. And so, I mean, you know, it wasn't really, Death Row didn't really start that. It wasn't really a Tupac thing or a Suge thing. That was just kind of a reassertion of it, you might say, you know, really kind of on your face thing. But no, man, that West Coast East Coast thing started long before that.
Do you feel like it still continues with the stuff that like Kendrick's putting out and the responses from the coast?
I think right now that most people in rap are so fucking tired of bubblegum rap, we don't give a shit about East and West no more. We just want this bullshit out of the game. There's so much sour-sounding bullshit out here. The bubblegum rap, it's time to end. This trending shit is bullshit. And for a while, I would say nothing. And I remember when we were first working on my album, people would go, you know, you got to do something for the kids nowadays and do something that's trending. I don't trend. I do me. You know, if my thing starts trending, cool. But it is absolutely utterly ridiculous to do the exact same sounding music that everybody else is doing, the exact same way that they do it, the exact same style. What the hell are you doing? There is no originality. There is no individuality. It's ridiculous. The very essence of hip-hop is removed. I don't want to sound like that person. If Chuck D comes out sound like Chuck D, does everybody come out sound like Chuck D? And are they? Hell no. I mean, you get, you know, read about a cowboy trying to sound like another person. KRS is KRS 1. Rakim was Rakim. Ain't no Rakim Part 2s and KRS 1 Part 2s. Ain't no IQ Part 2s and MC Ren Part 2s. If it was, you get clowned. And even the DJs policed the music. They were like, you know, I mean, out of here with that. You know, but now, the more you sound like him, the more you sound like her, the better. No. So, you know, I don't think it's a regional thing anymore, other than the fact that we are tired of this BS. Just, I mean, anybody that's really a true hip-hop fan and really likes, you know, originality and individuality and can't stand people who want to sound like each other, then I think we're pretty much, it's more of a us against them kind of a thing. I don't think it's so much regional anymore as, you know, real hip-hop versus this fake shit.
As a fan myself, I agree. Are you talking about the trap music type sound or the Chicago sound?
That same old shit, whatever the hell they call it, trap, crap, all that shit. I don't like it. And it's, I mean, and here's my thing. I don't want to say I don't like it. What I don't like about it is that everybody has been trapped into believing that that's a fucking trap, that their minds are trapped into believing they have to do that in order to blow up. You suck doing that. There's nothing, I mean, how do you stand out for the last person? Or what are you doing? Okay, I'm going to go sell lemonade. Why? Because they said lemonade. Yeah. What color is your lemonade? Said colors of lemonade. You're a fucking idiot. How about you sell pink lemonade? How about there's a sour, you make yours a little sweeter or whatever. Don't do exactly what they're doing. That's just dumb. And that's what everybody is doing. We have to do it this way. No, you don't, idiot. Monet does not do paintings like Da Vinci. You know, Bach does not sound like Beethoven. So, I mean, be original. Be you. Do you. Don't do the last person. That's just dumb.
I got just two more death row questions I gotta ask. Were you paid properly by him?
Nope. But, fortunately, I had anticipated all that. My thing was this. I'll put it to you this way. Okay, so properly. Properly means am I getting my publishing, blah, blah, blah. Hell no. No. But when you go in with your eyes open, understanding that that's the case, you don't trip. My purpose in going to death row was not to make money. My purpose in going to death row was to get on platinum selling shit so I could be heard. Not bullshit. That was the plan. The plan was to go to death row, get on about, at a minimum 2, maximum 3, multi-platinum compositions to shake. Above the rim, multi-platinum. Shake. And then after I had shook, Tupac popped along. Oops. All eyes on me. Did a third. And the biggest. And I was already shook by then. So no, I'm not tripping. I mean, no. I mean, if you walk in understanding that, there's something interesting afoot here, and there's anytime you sign contracts to somebody else's publishing, you always run the risk of not necessarily getting your fair share. But I mean, if this is all part of a grand design, then don't worry. I'm out. I left before Dre did.
Was Picture Me Rollin' a work for hire type of situation?
Was it a work for hire? No. No. What happened was, upon his passing, apparently somebody else started dealing with his publishing. As I understand it, his estate was being handled by Universal. At least that's what I was told when I called Death Row, asking about royalties for Picture Me Rollin'. They sent me directly to Universal. And their reasoning was, Universal's handling his estate. Okay, cool. Universal is a global conglomerate. So their thing is, we pay. They don't have all these little tricks of the trade, all that kind of thing. They just pay. And that's how I got paid for it. I didn't see that forthcoming, but I appreciated it. So, yeah. No. Yes and no. No, I did not get paid from there. Yes, I got paid later, but, because you're dealing with people who actually been in the business for many, many years, and, the best thing to do is just pay out.
I do have to ask you, where were you when you heard that Tupac had passed?
Work. Somebody called me and told me he was gone. And, it was a relatively, they told me that he got shot up. And it was a relatively resourceful person. So, And, you know, of course it came to be what actually had happened.
Think we'll ever see justice for that?
I would be this way, whether or not we will, it will occur.
Fair enough. Would you, I know this is probably a bad transition, but will we see a release of the iBoss album?
Absolutely, it's coming out this year. And see, here's the thing about eyeballs. A lot of people are like, you know, they really want to hear it, and hell, so am I. But the thing is, and what happened was I was going to put this album out a while ago, and somebody started leaking the material. So, thank you. That was going to be on there. It's out on YouTube. It's been there for a while. It's been on MySpace prior to that. Just Game, which is a song I did with Barry White thing, it's out there. I think Bye Boo is out there. Fortunately, none of my really gangster shit was. I hadn't finished some songs. So what I did was go back and finish songs that I never finished, wrote new ones. And the ones that are already out there are kind of irking me. So I've been wanting to replace them with something new. But regardless as to what, let's see, I think I wrote maybe 9 or 10 new ones. So regardless as to whether or not I replaced the ones that have already been leaked, yeah, it's definitely coming out. Anything other than that, I'm not certain of, but yeah, it would behoove me to put that out. I simply don't want to go into the detox zone with that one.
Are you currently doing anything for it?
I was actually working on something when you called. Yeah, absolutely. What happened? Well, I mean, I have 3 out there right now. Three singles from it. 3 singles that I actually wanted to put out. They Boogie, Super Gangster, and Your Body Is Hot. And so, the purpose of me putting those out was to let people know that there is an album forthcoming, and this is either snippets of it. You know what I mean? I didn't want to just put out one single because everyone does that. I think when you've been gone, at the time that I've been gone, one single is kind of like not acceptable. You need to give us a little more of an insight, kind of a peek as to what's really going to go on. So I decided to put out 3 different kinds of songs. I put out a club cut for the ladies, and that was Your Body Is Hot. I put out sort of a gangster party club song for the homies and for the ladies, and that was They Boogie. And then I put out something simply for the gangsters, which was Super Gangster, being Slip the Poem. And I really wanted to do a song with him again, because we hadn't done one since the eulogy, Murder Was the Case. But now, yeah, I'm going to drop the rest of it very soon.
Do you have a message for all the fans out there that you do have that have seen you gone so long from the game and are awaiting this?
Yes, I do. Forget anything you heard on the first album. It's not the first album. And what I mean by that is, first of all, I hated the first album. Hate it. I still hate it. Because, I mean, literally speaking, I don't even rap in about 2 weeks. And, in the years that I've been gone, my voice has absolutely changed. My delivery is closer to what you hear on those 3 singles. So I'm much easier to understand. I'm much more direct, not so flippant of the tongue. And so, I would just want people to have it's a fresh thing. I'm not doing any bubble gum. I don't do bubble gum. I keep it West. I keep it gangster. That's all I do is keep it G. I cannot do anything else. I don't like commercial music. But it's kind of a grown-up album. You know what I mean? It's not a kid's album. It's, I'm doing everything on it. I'm doing all my verses. I'm writing everything except for the verses that aren't me. I'm singing all the hooks. I'm singing all the those voices in the back and background voices. I mean, I'm just being me. I call it eyeballs because it's, I thought of myself as being at a party, for instance, kind of a social thing, and somebody saying, what do you do? Well, I do this. What do you do? I do that. Well, what do you do? I boss. I boss people around. That's what I do. So this is kind of indicative of that. It's my personality to music. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to say it's hard and all that because I really don't think it's for me to say. I think it's for people to listen to. I'm really pleased with the feedback I'm getting on those 3 singles. Seems like Day Boogie is the one everybody is just really invested in. But it's kind of a war with your body is hot. There's a lot of women like that. And what I did was ask people of those 2 videos what would they want. I'm sorry, of those 2 songs, which would they want as a video. And a lot of people go with your body is hot because of its obvious content. And a whole lot of people go with Day Boogie because, anybody can get the boogie on. So it's interesting, and I like to hear people are responding, but I will tell them that, in my opinion, the album is much better. Those are certainly intricate cuts on the album, but it's a nice, well-rounded album. It really is.
Can you plug your social media where fans can go if they want to interact with you?
Absolutely. They are all free for purchase on, on iTunes and Google Play and Amazon and, places like that. But just to peep it out, it's on YouTube as well. And just put in CPO Boss Hogg and look for Day Boogie, look for Your Body is Hot, look for Super Gangster. Nice. Very nice.
And this last one here is for me. Do you have an email where I can send you the uncut interview and then where I can send the edited version?
Absolutely, I do. It's you. Check it out. That's 2 G's on the whole.
All right, man.
Yes, I will be getting at you about your voice. I'm very irritated that you have a voice and I'm not doing anything with it.
It's probably the lack of confidence and the daily mundane bills and upkeep. You got to keep doing
You're
that.
talking to a guy who has nothing but a lack of confidence. Thank you so much. You have that voice. Your fine confidence and the strength in your voice. Dude, you sound like you should be having a show. You're killing me.
I appreciate that. That's a huge compliment.
Yeah, man. Holler at me, whatever, man. Do send me that. And I really appreciate you taking the time and
This is a Jmix exclusive.
What up, shut up?